Calling the meeting to order. It's 11:59. Welcome to the Historic Resources Board August meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Munoz. Present. Board Member Calendar.
Present.
Board Member Shim.
Present.
Board Member Hirahara.
Here.
And Chair Mazgai.
Present.
I want to report that Michael Wadsworth called me. He said he was unable to be, or maybe attend or be on time due to a personal.
Right. Thank you. And we could have staff introductions, please.
Bianca Arizmendi, Community Outreach Assistant.
Segovia, Assistant Planner.
And Grant Leonard, Planning Manager.
Thank you. And we open the meeting now for any public comments. If there are any, please come forward.
On items not on the agenda.
Good afternoon, Denise Estrada. Wanted to thank you all. This is the first time I've been able to get here in person for the certificates honoring the first mayor's house, myself and Larry Smith, who's here today. We wanted to say a thank you in person. Secondly, wanted to let those of you who are not already aware of it know that today at 2 o'clock at the Heritage Center in the California Welcome Center, the TAMZ Rail Committee meeting is happening today. There is going to be discussion of the Kickstart program, which talks about the expansion of rail service and talks about Heritage Park and some of the historic elements there. So you are all invited. It's a public meeting. Again, it's at 2 o'clock today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Are there any comments from the public regarding items that are not on today's agenda? Seeing that there aren't, we'll move to approval of the minutes from the July 7th meeting. Are there any questions or comments from any board members? If not, can we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I seconded.
So can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Munoz.
Oh, yes.
Board Member Calendar.
Yes.
Board Member Shim.
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara.
Yes.
Chair Mazgai.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is the survey. So Grant, I think you're going to call over this.
Yes, thank you, Chair and Board. We're happy to present the results of a public outreach survey that was conducted regarding the future of the ITC, the Intermodal Transportation Center. In 2024, the city partnered with Harrison Associates to conduct an existing conditions analysis and sort of a first phase towards a master plan for the ITC. This was in large part in response from the community's interest in the center and its future and potential for rebranding. So the first step was to conduct a public opinion survey, which you have the summary here. Unfortunately, our work with Harris ended at December 31st of 2024, so they weren't able to conclude the rest of their original planned work, but we do have this summary of their public outreach survey, and if we go to page 6, you can see the conclusions, which is really that ITC is a valuable asset for the city. Folks are interested in using the ITC and increasing its use as a transportation hub, particularly if there's improvements to service and frequency. Also making sure it's safe and comfortable for transit users. There's interest in expansion of the Welcome Center and enhancing branding and signage and developing additional historic exhibits. And also improving amenities for the center, including restrooms, potential for food vendors, green space, community events. Some of that the city is already pursuing with event organizers such as What's Grubbin' Salinas, which is a food truck event that's happened periodically recently this year. And in terms of next steps, so we're going to conclude the work of the existing conditions analysis and opportunities and constraints analysis for that first phase of the future of the ITC. We're going to conclude that in-house. So primarily Yesenia Segovia and myself will be working on that, and with our Public Works Department and our city managers and the Economic Development Division. And so we'll be reporting back to this board and the community in the future months between now and the new year on that next phase of the project. And with that, happy to take any questions. This was included in the agenda packet, so hopefully people had an opportunity to read it, and Yesenia and I are here to answer any questions from the board and the public.
Sal?
Yes. I would like to include on the report for the historical places, to include the color palette of the period for the different types of homes and design, architectural designs, so we can have a base for the review whenever there is an alteration, repainting, and or any remodel, like what's happening at the Greyhound building, as an example.
Excuse me, I thought we were talking about the ITC report.
This is, that's correct. This is Administrative Report 25-315 for the ITC, and if I am understanding Board Member Munoz correctly, we would want to include analysis of the existing colors that are there at the train station for the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So any future work on those buildings would be able to reflect their historic character.
Yeah.
Just a general question here. So with the findings that we have so far, can you give us an idea of the direction the city is going to go in with those findings? What are they hoping to accomplish?
Certainly. So the next steps, include some additional analysis on things like parking counts, how frequently it's used, circulation, connectivity, is it comfortable for pedestrians and cyclists to access the site? What's the traffic congestion in and out of the area? Service frequency for transit, for Amtrak, also for MST and Greyhound. And we'll get that documented as a baseline. And then it's really working with the community and our stakeholders at the ITC on taking the next step. So we have a firm understanding of the current situation, and then what are the opportunities to improve it going forward, to enhance it both as a transportation center, but also as an economic driver for the city. In the Downtown Vibrancy Plan, it's listed as a cornerstone of the downtown, and we want to honor that vision from 2015 and move it forward. We'll also be looking at other train stations from across the state and the nation for how they operate and are enhanced compared to Salinas, so similarly sized stations. Also, similar stations down the coast, so we can look at Paso Robles, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, down to Los Angeles, and then up to the Bay Area as well. There's some interesting work that's been done on light rail extensions in the northern Bay Area. So we have a list of comparables that we'll analyze, and then we'll work with the community on what makes sense for this site.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I have two questions. First one is, according to the survey, the housing was a very low priority. Was that, I understand from this report saying that it was a kind of a mandate for the ITC to have some housing in there? What's the results from the survey, and how's the city going to go forward on that?
Correct. So the idea of housing at the ITC goes back to the Downtown Vibrancy Plan, and that this would be a good opportunity for transit-oriented development. Much like across the street, there's the Gateway Apartments, which is transit-oriented with bus service and adjacent to the ITC. So in 2015, with the Vibrancy Plan, that was a thought. There's a lot of surface parking currently. Maybe you could take some of that parking, use it for housing, and have a good transit-oriented development. It's been a while since that idea was floated to the public, and so that's what this question was about, was just bringing it back to the community. What would you think of housing here? It scored low compared to the other questions. So that'll be something for our decision makers to consider. Is it, do we continue looking at housing, or do we look at the other priorities?
So that'll be part of your report back.
Correct.
And my other question would be, it was my understanding that one of the one of the reasons for having this survey was I guess the naming of the area. So do you have any information about that?
Yeah, so that's part of the next phase that will come with. The city has an existing naming policy for city-owned facilities. And so really it's a matter of documenting that and then comparing it to what's proposed to, what has been proposed for this site, primarily from the Heritage Park concept for naming it. Again, it has to be evaluated against that naming policy, and that'll be in the next report.
And when might that report be coming?
We're planning no later than the end of the year, so in the next few months.
I have another.
Sal?
This could apply to, on the thing that we're talking about, is I saw a report that there is a group proposing a sign for East Salinas. And it's similar to the one that we have in downtown. I think the one in downtown, as well as the one in East Salinas, should come in front of us that will go with the period and the style for the community, and not just to rubber stamp something. You know, I don't know what process they're doing it, and they say they want to build it, and I don't know the status of that particular, signage. Could we have any input on that, or can we ask the community to see what kind of a signage should be there, or to study historically if any signage was there before? Yeah.
Any other comments?
Are you taking public comments? Are you taking public comments?
So the general procedure is questions from the board first, and then general public, or public comment on the item, and then back to the board for final comments.
Okay, any comments from the public?
Denise Estrada again. I was dismayed today when I was asking about the status of the report that was to come forward from Harrison Associates. We had a very large stakeholder meeting at the Welcome Center, well attended. One of the interesting comments was that the city has never really listened to the public, and there was some very strong opinions that came out of that, one of which was that a master plan had already been undertaken. We had copies of that master plan, then we had the vibrancy plan, so there was a question from that audience back to the city staff, who is no longer with the city. Why are you redoing something that has already been done? These components needed to come back together, and this group was, I won't say demanding, but really imploring the city to look at what's already been done and not pay for an additional master plan to be done when that work has already been done. There was some very strong opinions. So I don't know what record that Harrison Associates took of that meeting, but I would implore you to look at that, because it was a large gathering of people who have been involved in the project for a very long time. And I'm sure the fact that their input from that meeting, which was supposed to be significant to the development of the master plan, either has been lost or whatever. So I would implore you to try to find that, because I think it's really important. Thank you.
Any more comments from the board?
Could staff bring the is there such thing exists as a ITC master plan at this point in time? Because I've never seen it myself.
It's something we'll work with Denise on. And I mentioned at the beginning, we had a transition with Harris. We've also had a transition at the staff level with the person who had been working on this. So let us go back to our files and work with Denise, and we'll see what we can bring back.
I have a question about this, the vibrancy plan, and is the housing there that is being planned, is that part of the housing element?
Excellent question. Yes, that is included as an opportunity site in the housing element.
That particular site? Because I just want to comment that I just saw something in Santa Cruz where they're planning a rail from Santa Cruz to Pajaro. And I think at the intermodal center, there'll be something similar in the future. And I'm just thinking having housing there would be kind of weird. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, next topic is historic landmarks. So I wanted to,
Sorry.
okay.
We're just jumping ahead. Here we go. Take it away, Chair.
So the next area is historic landmarks. So a number of cities, both in California and elsewhere, have on their city websites and other platforms a listing of that town's city landmarks. And it's interesting to find them. You learn more about the properties. Chamber of Commerce groups and other business organizations use them to promote heritage tourism. And even though we have valuable information from the '89 survey, it isn't easily accessible, and it isn't organized in such a way that a tourist or a local person could find our historic landmarks. So it's why I wanted to bring this up, so we could discuss it and see what the board's thoughts are. Any comments? Sal?
The self-tour pamphlet that we have created through our board on years before includes most of the building landmarks for Salinas. But it should be, like you said, it will be more prominent on the website for the city of Salinas that could be accessed by the Chamber of Commerce and also any other groups that could be able to promote tourism and promote that, because those landmarks is the remnants of our of the past history architecturally. And I have taken personally the action of preserving historical buildings from the county, but I'm now going to concentrate on the city of Salinas to scan buildings that we could lose for whatever reason to be demolished. We are finishing touches for the MST downtown station. So you can have a virtual tour and can be put that on the website, and that will promote to see how those buildings look like or how they used to be. We didn't have the opportunity to do that in the Greyhound as an example, how it was before. So we could be able to see, what is the past, because there are some people who have moved from the area and then come back and they see a lot of changes in our city. And they said, okay, where is this building? What happened to this building? So that will be a very tangible way of showing our past, because that's our history.
I think the vast majority of these buildings on the 89 list are private homes, and so unless they have specifically given permission to be on a list that we're publishing, I think that the homes should be left off, and some would probably choose to be on there, but I feel a little leery about listing all the homes on there. Maybe we could list if there was a particular district like Maple Park that had a lot, and say Maple Park is an area that represents, some newer homes of the age or something, as long as we're not pointing out specific homes.
Yeah, it's definitely the property owner has to give consent to be on this list. They have to agree to it in whatever form is used. But I think you might be surprised the number of property owners might welcome it.
Yep.
And once the Page and Turnbull results are in, I really hope that all of that information in the properties that when they widen the listing, that information will be online and can be accessed by anyone, whether the owner really likes it or not. It's an architectural survey, and it's an inventory list, just like the 89 survey was, and all of the public had the right to look at that.
Right. They'd have to for the Mills Act purposes as well, because
Right.
if they're on that list, they have to know that they're on that list for that
Right.
reason.
Yeah, in fact, that encourages it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, 14 months from now, 18 months from now, whenever the survey is completed, maybe in the meantime, is there a way that the city could ask Page and Turnbull to have this part of the thought process or paperwork results, so it would encourage moving in this direction?
Yes, absolutely. This is something we can bring up with Page and Turnbull as they wrap up their survey work and start preparing the report back to the board.
When I looked at the cultural resources, purposes, and designation, apparently, they do it take it upon themselves to do it. It was a very complete set of information, so hopefully we won't have to recreate that sort of information on our own. Some of that's already there as far as the Historic Resources Board, but designation is kind of spelled out in here. And, I'm not sure if it'd be automatic or not, but I'm assuming that when Page Turnbull finishes that some of these landmarks will probably be considered historic and be part of considered part of designated historic landmarks in the city of Salinas? Or is that a determination that we can make as a board?
So the designation process, again, is on our, built into the city code, and it does require property owner based on the survey. So it's a multi-step process, and part of that is to come to the board before it goes to city council for designation.
But currently, no one has come forward, so we have no city landmark listing, right?
So this was an interesting discussion we had at the staff level about the term landmark versus historically designated. We do have historically designated buildings here in Salinas, but without the term landmark, and many of the protections are similar or identical. So it's could be a matter of branding. This is a landmark, it's historically designated, and it's good for a walking tour or for a GIS map on the website so folks can find it. But we certainly have historically designated properties. We most recently designated the El Rey Theater last year in 2024, and many before that. So again, it's a discussion we can have with Page and Turnbull on the value of landmark versus our current designating process, and we can report back and see if there's any changes there.
Good, but even whatever you want to call it, go by the current city's term, there is no way to find that list of those buildings. That's what I'm getting at. We have no way of learning about them. There's no quick list, or a tab, or some way that we can access this information.
No quick way. that's true.
So I'm just wondering, is it premature for the board to have like a subcommittee to do a little work, to do more work with this? I mean, I just picked Riverside because I happen to live there for a number of years. San Francisco has many city landmarks. Many cities do, Palo Alto. So is it premature to begin digging a little bit further? Or is it wise to wait for Page and Turnbull? Because then with all of their work, we can use it.
Well, I think that's a board decision. You're certainly welcome to do, research into other cities and best practices, and that can be done at the same time Page and Turnbull is doing their work, and then they can come together.
Okay. Any other comments from the board about this?
From a website accessibility point of view, we currently don't have very good ones. And looking at the city of Riverside, landmarks of Riverside, I thought that was fairly complete, seemed to be pretty navigable, but the Visit Riverside, I had a very difficult time getting into that one.
Yeah, that's, I think, a Chamber of Commerce or some other outside group that is promoting his heritage tourism, but it's great to see another outside group do that. But yeah, their website could have been easier to get into. I
Couldn't get in at all.
Really? It took me a while, but I finally got it through. But
If it's going to be convenient and accessible, it should be relatively easy to enter. But that was a Chamber of Commerce Visit Riverside website, so it wasn't a government website. So the other one seemed to be, I couldn't get the pictures of them, but, excuse me, I did get the pictures of them on the Fox Theater and those other ones. So I thought that was, it seemed like a reasonable integration that hopefully we can do.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Sal?
The Secretary of Interior's guidelines has a lot of information about accessibility, and also the California historical section for historical buildings, and also one that has a very comprehensive one is the city of Pasadena, that has a lot of how they managed to preserve the historicity of a building, from accessibility, from solar energy, the panels, and also ADUs in historical sites, which is very comprehensive and very simple to read. Mm-hmm. And I will like us to maybe review and then adapt something that is local by learning from others, so we can apply to our system.
Any comments from the public?
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
My name is Kent Seavey. I did the original survey. It was funded by the state of California, so the list is at the Office of Historic Preservation in Sacramento. Whether it was listed here or adopted here, that document is available in Sacramento. You have some wonderful districts, you have some wonderful buildings. I think that you have the opportunity, and of course, if you're going to go after a Mills Act, that's the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic preservation that you have to abide by. I would assume that the city list does give some basic information on that so that you can employ that rather than going through the process all over again. So there are handles that you have on historic properties at this point that you can use judiciously. I think that the business, and I will preface this by saying that not a month, 2 months ago, Mr. Manzai, we had 37 members of the California Society of Historic Preservation professionals here, and they really liked Salinas and couldn't understand why we had prefaced our remarks about it using the term the lettuce curtain. Mm-hmm. There is no curtain on Salinas. We have to move forward in terms of the cultural tourism that we are drawing, rodeo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to give people who are going to come to this area a little more to know about. And I think it's really admirable that, and we were able to cover Chinatown fairly well in that original survey. But we have so many others to do. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the public? Back to the board, anything else here? I think just a comment, a brief one, we're kind of at a turning point, I think. With the additional survey that's being done and the downtown becoming more vibrant, we're having more and more opportunities that we can seize to promote Salinas. So the more we can do that and seize those, I think the results are going to be amazing.
Could I add a comment that it's talked about the operations of a historic resource board. One of the things they did was certificates of recognition. We've already started that program, so I think, we didn't even know that it existed, and we thought it was a good idea. So it's, I think, substantiated by what Riverside has put into their operations code.
Right. And with our next step is the whole plaque program that we've begun doing research and examples. That's a lot more complicated, but I think as we make more progress with that, it'll be easier for the public to recognize what they're looking at. All right, next topic is the Greyhound Depot.
Correct. So this should be a quick, just visual presentation. We'd have a request from board members to have a visual of what's going on at the old Greyhound on West Gabilan, 1 block from here. So this is the final rendering that was submitted with the plan and approvals. Yeah, we don't know, tenancy, who's moving in or whatnot, but this is what the building will look like.
So originally, there was some discussion that this might include housing. I'm looking at this and I'm not getting that vibe from the building. Do you know?
That's correct. There's no housing component.
And what about parking? Where the buses used to park directly behind it? Any future for that area?
I will speculate that it will be parking for the tenants of that site.
So just for the tenants and not a garage or anything that, at this time, that's what you think is going to happen, huh?
Correct.
I know comments you hear from some of the locals and visitors. I know we all like to have a parking space right out front of the place we're going to, right? But you hear it from the merchants especially. Customers have told me they were going to come eat here, but they couldn't find a place, so they just didn't do it. They got tired of looking. So I know there are a number of city lots that are downtown, so hopefully in the future we will create a little more parking so it's a little more user-friendly for more downtown activities. Any comments about the design or about the bus station in general?
Was that considered a historic building?
It is not.
It is not?
Sorry.
I was just curious because when I drive by, I see that sign, Contic Furniture. There's a lot of unusual things underneath that facade.
Yeah.
But you have no idea what this is going to be proposed to be right now? Okay.
Okay, well, thanks, Grant, for showing us what it's going to look like. Any other comments from the public? Do we have any?
Just a question, because it's been asked of me. On the one side here, you don't see any of the, we know that the Greyhound and the furniture sign has been covered over, but for so long visible was that partial mural that was there. My question is, Grant, do you know if that has been incorporated into an interior wall? Obviously, this wall's built out from where that was showing. Do you know if that part of it, if people are asking me, what does it say? What does it represent? It's obviously some history. I didn't know the answer to that, and I don't know if it's been incorporated as part of the interior walls in the design. No?
I know I've seen it inside.
Oh, you
They
have?
have moved it inside. Now, if it's, how it's going to be used in the interior, I hope it's going to be used. Why bother to bring it inside, right?
Right.
So it's there.
Okay.
You can see it.
Okay.
At least I saw it a week and a half ago, so. Yeah, and I think it was an old advertisement for
Carnation.
Carnation, and then you also had the Bulldog, which I think was for overalls. Any other comments, questions? Anything from the board? All right, on to Historic Resources Board District 6 vacancy. We've had it for a while now. We would like another member. Any update on that, Grant?
Hi, so I've been in contact with the city clerk and she has no update yet on that vacancy, but hopefully soon.
So do you know if you've had any applications yet at all, or
No applications.
no applications?
No, not that she mentioned.
All right,
I know one.
thank you. Sal?
For any future members for the HRB, it would be very advisable to have like a subcommittee in the city, especially with the city, to have a screening committee, to have at least some minimum historical background to understand the materials that we use to review any historical projects that can come in front of us, so we can do due advice to the city of what to do with that historical building. Yeah. And to have special training before getting into the action, you know.
Grant, is there, is that already set up within the city, how that's all reviewed when applications come in and criteria needed?
Yes, so the criteria for board membership and the appointment process is in the ordinance that established the HRB. But it's a good point that any new member should have a comprehensive onboarding with training and, of course, continued education, which is one of the reasons we joined the California Preservation Foundation, so we can do that as well.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? All right, moving forward, we have the Soledad Street update.
Yeah, so just a regular update on our Chinatown pre-development projects. 34 through 40 is currently with our Public Works Department looking at environmental testing for the one-story portions, see if it's been remediated for lead and asbestos. We know the two-story 38 Soledad has, and we know that 40, the former gas station, has been remediated, but the one-story portions we need some more analysis on. And then across the street, we are moving forward with our historic structures report and design for the Republic Cafe. And TEF Design is going to be here next week for a field visit and an inspection of the building to look at both the immediate structural work that may be needed, the front facade repairs, as well as the overall historic nature of the building, 37 and 39. and then the design work, how that would factor into design work. And they are moving forward with their design work for 45 Soledad and 30 through 40, and we'll be presenting to the Salinas Downtown Community Board this week on that. So project is moving forward.
Any comments?
My comment would be on the Republic Cafe, knowing the condition that 39 Soledad Street is in, is it going to be designated two separate parcels, even though it's one APN, as far as how it will be treated for condition? Or do you know?
Well, I was reviewing its historic designation, which is separated. So there's 37 is designated, but 39 is not currently. So because of the history of the two buildings before they became one APN. So that's a good point. I don't have an answer right now for you, but we'll work with TEF Design on that.
Thank you.
And just to refresh my memory, the even side of Soledad, where the PI market was and the pool hall, pretty much that's all going, correct? Elements may be saved from the pool hall building, but otherwise everything else will be demolished.
Given its current condition, that's the plan, and then it's to incorporate all the design elements into the new design. So it'll carry forward.
So some of the original elements will be removed and saved and may be used on the new building, or they'll be used just as an example of what to recreate, or?
Yes, actually, that's the plan, is to carefully take off the front facade, preserve it either, if it can be reused, to reuse it. If not, it would be the inspiration for the new product that would go on.
Any other comments? Any comments or questions from the public regarding the Soledad Street buildings? No. Okay. So do we have any future agenda items?
Excuse me, it's not an agenda item, but I'd like to pass some information on to the board, and hopefully I gave it to the clerk so it can be distributed to the board. There was discussion about the Redmond Hirohara Mansion in Santa Cruz County, and I investigated it, and tomorrow at August 5th at the County Board of Supervisors, they're going to delist it from the Santa Cruz County Historic Designation for the purpose of demolition. So it's not, it hasn't, I don't believe it's been red tag, I'll check on that. But it's open for a public hearing. Their County Historic Resource Commission meets quarterly, and at the February meeting, it was recommended by the Planning Commission to do that, to delist it, and then for demolition, because the property owner didn't wish to continue that piece of property. So that kind of concerns me in the sense that, like, I think 38 Soledad Street is red tag, which is a different designation than somebody wanting to delist a historic property for the purpose of demolition. So I wanted to find out more about it, so I'll be attending that meeting tomorrow. Try to find out about this public hearing and give input about maybe what we consider a situation, trying to preserve a historic building. It's also be a Zoom meeting, so if I have that information, so the board wants to attend, they can. Any questions?
I just want to comment also that, I have an interest in that, that building because it's William Weeks building. And I brought some for the board, some information about William Weeks. There was a lady named Betty Lewis, and she wrote a whole book about him. And I have pictures of the Victorian that's now at the County Historical Society, and then a picture of it when it was in its original place before it moved, and the article. So I'm going to give that all to you. I think it's, you know, a good background. And I did go over to the Watsonville, the Redmond Hirohara, and took some pictures of it. So if you're interested in looking at those, the up-close and personal pictures,
Pretty rough condition.
it's in pretty rough condition, but, you know, I myself think that it could be restored. I mean, just think about the Steinbeck Western Fire. It was underwater for many years. It was completely deteriorated and they restored it. So, you know, this is a very substantial building and it can be restored, I think. That's my personal.
And as a side note, I'm going to send a link to the Historic Resources Commission meeting where they had the actual presentation by the planning commissioner. So if you wish to view that, it'll be on that link as well. It's a 2-hour meeting, so I got to go through the part, get rid of the other part, I mean the fluff.
Sal?
On the historical buildings that were made by William Weeks, Betty Lewis did a couple of buildings, a couple of books, which actually are sort of incomplete because there are other buildings that were, you know, left on that. And I used to mingle with her when I used to work with the city of Salinas Housing and Economic Development on doing downtown checking of the historical buildings and the future development for the city of Watsonville. And it will be advisable for us to have access and to have a historical library that we could have for the city and the members to review, so we can be up to date on these kinds of buildings. And the other thing is very important to preserve any historical buildings that we could be able to move, just like the city of San Jose. There is a park where they reenacted the old downtown in homes, historical homes, in a park setting. And they became actually offices for different groups, like the Azores, people who come from the Azores from Portugal, and they have their headquarters and have their museums and so forth. LA has a whole community of especially the Victorian homes, for the different periods and styles that they have, that they were able to move to a setting so people can still see and be able to see in their setting all of these historical buildings. Salinas, you know, I know we have some spaces for maybe futurists, especially if in the general plan, maybe we could have a park where we could move some of those buildings and recreate that. You know, that will be super, you know, especially for people who will visit Salinas and the old-timers who have left and then come back and they say, hey, our city has changed, but then some of those buildings will rescue. Now we have the first mayor's house as an example. And, you know, that could be something like that.
Yeah, a number of cities have done that. Oakland has their version in San Diego, and it's one way to retain the buildings. Most of them become office or organizations rather than residential, but at least they're kept.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Betty Lewis's book, we do have that, should still be there at the Steinbeck Library. So you can refer to it there and learn more about Weeks. One disadvantage of her data keeping is that she didn't provide addresses. She provided the family name of the house. So it's kind of difficult to find them. But I'm still working on a number of family names to try to find the addresses so we know they're identified. But I did find one on Soledad Street at East San Luis. on the southeast corner. That's a William Weeks, but it isn't recognized, and in the survey, it isn't, I don't think it's called that. It's a neat home, too. The stables are in the backyard still, the carriage house. Sal?
The Pajaro Valley Historical Society has a whole file on William Weeks that we could maybe go there and retrieve some of this information, and we can update and actually find out which buildings we have in Salinas. Like we have his beautiful building in the corner of Gavilan and Maine, where the first, that was actually in the second floor, my first office that I had on that particular building.
That's the McDougal Building?
Yeah,
William Weeks, yeah, he designed that. And he had an office there, too.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Any future agenda items? Anything from the public regarding agenda items?
Chair, if I may, staff has a report back under other business. Happy to follow up from a previous request by the board.
Yes, thank you, Grant. We just got in our shipment of a field guide to American houses, and so we ordered 3. Grant has a book, I have a book, and then we have an extra one if anybody would like to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Great.
I'll hold on to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will give it to you after the meeting.
Okay. Sal?
I think we should have a place that we as a board and the community to have a historical library, so we can, we have access, and then maybe even some of us who have some extra historical books, we could add more to it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Is there any place in planning that this could be kept, or any other ideas, Grant?
Well, we know that there's an actual copy in the city's library system,
Yeah.
but we wanted these 3 copies at the staff level and for the HRB, the third one being sort of like a lending library. If an HRB member had a need to look something up, they can contact us and we'll lend it out for a little bit.
That's
And if there are other books like that, we can certainly do the same at the staff level and have that sort of in-house lending library for the board.
All right.
So just to be clear, so the lending library location would be at West LaSalle and Salinas Street, that building?
Correct, community development, the permit center.
Okay. Good, thank you. Any other comments or things to bring up?
Oh, I have a comment.
Go.
I just wanted to thank the board or the grant for getting us the subscription to the California Preservation Association, and I've been to 2 of their webinars already. I went to one about Heritage Landscape by Lori Matthews, and there was quite a large discussion about how to actually get into the field. And because she teaches at the University of Oregon, she teaches historical preservation, and she was explaining that it's a pretty high bar, to really get into the field. You have to have at least a master's. And the other one that I went to was by a man his name is Ian Grossman, and he has devised a blog of all of the historic resources in Los Angeles. So it's really wonderful. It's really great. I'll send you all a copy of the link. And he's a musician, but he's taken on this, taking pictures and going to all these different places in Los Angeles, and he gave us a whole background about the California preservation, how it started out and how there's 600 in California, And the first year that it started, there were 35. So I just want to thank you for that because it's been very informative.
Good.
Yeah.
Sal?
I have an announcement, historical announcement. The Monterey County Historical Society at Boronda Ranch is going to have what is called a Boronda Day, and we can have access to the Williams Wick building that was moved over there. And we are working on getting grants to refinish the building. You know, if we digitize the building, so that will be nice for everybody to come there. It will be also made to have a presence for any historical interest groups to set up a table and share, you know, their information. Because there are groups from other places especially from Monterey County, our city, they're going to be present over there.
And I think that's going to be the last Saturday of the month,
27th
in September.
September, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, meeting's adjourned at 5 minutes to 1.